Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another
it!
one! Another one!
Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Hope your week is treading along because we're almost through it here on this Thursday, October 27th. Holy moly. Dustin is on assignment, but that's okay. We've got him covered today. On the program, Matt Taylor is expected to be here. How about Collin Hartman? Talk some IU hoops. Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com will also talk some recruiting. And then we'll see what else we can throw in there for you. Working on getting Cabro on. See if he can pry himself out of bed around noon or something. Don't forget, we're brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com. where you will find the best deals on new and used vehicles at all times. And Endeavor Hospitality and the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app or Google App Store. Sign up for the WOW Club. Start earning WOW rewards today to great places like BB's Market, home of the best meats and custom in-house made products around. Full Bakery will be there tomorrow. Of course, doing the show live. Come out and join us. Have some breakfast on me. Haven't been out there for a couple weeks, so getting back out there, looking forward to that. And don't forget, speaking of the Golf Club at Eagle Point, they have their Gold Anniversary membership sale going on right now. Doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't take much to get your money back on this, whether you're visiting in for games or if you live in the area. A one-time payment of $299 covers you for 2 years. Green fees for 2 years. That's $150 a year. Think about that. That's 3 rounds. But that covers you for 2 years of green fees. You just have to pay your card fee, but you get all the honors. You can book your week in advance. You can book tee times early in the morning starting at 10. So reach out to the Golf Club, EaglePoint.com. Get all that taken care of. Golf season's not quite over, but it's heading that direction. That soaker the other day, but man, did we need that in this part of the country. How's everybody doing today? 5 Left's jumping on already. Larry, Heath. Hope everyone is working for the weekend. Indiana basketball opening up their season this weekend, kind of, with an exhibition game Saturday afternoon at 3 against Marion. Looking forward to talking to Collin Hartman today about that and some other exciting things that he's working on. Kyler Staley, of course, with the Hoosier.com. Always looking forward to getting caught up on the recruiting that never stops and is always rolling. Pac-12 commissioner is trying to convince everyone how bad of a move the UCLA-USC move to the Big Ten is. It's not popular with their supporters, according to the commissioner, George Klabakoff. Well, why isn't anyone else saying that? Of course he's going to say that. Why is he so concerned with convincing people? Well, it's because he's losing them. I don't think that there's anything he can do about it. So I don't blame him for trying to not go down without a fight, but they just don't have the weapons. The West Coast is not great for TV. And UCLA and USC could never dream of getting what they're about to start receiving after the 2024 season, which is over $100 million each, which is probably $75 million more a year than they get from the current setup with the Pac-12. During Pac-12 Basketball Media Day on Wednesday, Klavikoff said he's spoken to more than 100 people connected to both programs, including players and coaches, and the consensus has been against the move to the Big Ten. So he's going around talking to people at those schools, apparently. That's funny. Now and then he says, I think saying hundreds would be an exaggeration. Dozens. More than 100, he said. And I have yet to talk to anyone in the UCLA, USC community who's in favor of the move. Well, somebody was in favor of it because they did it. Klavikoff's comments follow his continued promotion of the Pac-12's future without USC, UCLA, while also questioning the collective value of the change for the Trojans and the Bruins. Well, let me tell you again, Mr. Klavikoff, $250 million a year for those two schools. That's $250 million for those who are keeping track at home. And that's just right now. That's before it were to get any bigger. So that's not changing. He can complain about it all he wants, but it's not changing. Hope everybody's doing well. Who's coming down and anyone coming in town for the game this Saturday? Don't forget, we do have college football going on. Indiana's on a bye. Man, lots of comments already. Hello, Mr. Jason. 10 days until the official basketball season starts. Jason's officiating down in Florida in the Orlando area. Dave G., how are you, sir? Hope you have a great day as well. It says he missed the Don Fisher show on Monday. Is there any way to go back and listen to it? Well, I'm glad you asked that, Dave. You can listen to any and every show. And generally, most individual interviews on our YouTube channel that you're watching on right now. So you should be easily just go right in there to the videos and find that, and it'll have that cut out for you. Don Fisher is always available. Yep, anything. That's why I tell you. For those of you that aren't, if you're listening on radio, great. We appreciate our folks down on the Ref, 97.7 ESPN, the Ref, down in the Evansville area. Hope everyone's doing well down there today, getting ready for the high school football playoffs. A couple of great teams ready to go, or WBRO. But if you are one of our listeners or viewers on YouTube, make sure you just hit that subscribe button and you don't miss a thing, and the notifications and the like. But yeah, hit that and you don't miss a thing, Dave. So if you've subscribed, you get them all sent to you. And they're all right there waiting for you. The truth is on already. Send me some food. Truth and money. Quick. Yeah. Bad divorce. There you go. Robert, asking about the travel for non-revenue sports in regards to USC, UCLA. Fair question. And my answer back, $125 million. That pays for a lot of travel. A lot of travel, A. B, I don't see, what I anticipate is a lot of group meets, whether it's cross country, whether it's track, whether, I know some sports you can't do that. Soccer, you're not going to do that. But $125 million pays for a lot of travel. And guess who's getting to do that? The student athletes who They get to travel to other places that most of them have probably not been, which is cool in and of itself. And they're traveling anyway. Not as much as they would be in a regular conference, of course. I'm not going to pretend that to be the case, but plane travel is plane travel. And it really, we've got teams going over to London to play football games and such. I just think that it is what it is, but it's a fair question. But I think that it's, to me, it works out better for them, those sports. Their sport is being paid for by whatever pays for everything else, generally football and basketball, but football. So I think they'll be fine. The truth, I already said that. Dylan Harper, IU Hoops prospects. Does he seem like a Rutgers lock since his brother went there? Oh, there's no way he's letting his brother come to IU. If you didn't see the game at the end, what his last game, wasn't it last? Was it last season or the season before last, where they won in Simon Scott Assembly Hall? But yeah, he's not. There's no way I can see him's brother coming here. But we'll talk. That's a great question for Kyler Staley later on. Michael pointing out all the older shows are also on Spotify for those of you that are podcast listeners. And we appreciate all of you guys. We're available. The radio show is always available on radio, of course, but then we are on the other formats so you can catch it anytime you like. And we appreciate everybody, whether you're listening by podcast, radio, or YouTube. But I was going through yesterday, ironically, and just on YouTube, we are heard in 32 states and I think 10 countries. Not bad, huh? How about that? And that's before I get to the podcast to see some other states. So probably in about 40, listened to in probably about 40 states, man. Not bad. In 15 countries. What do you think about, how about those apples? The half court shot there must have been a half court shot last night. I missed it. Matt, listening on the ref. Beautiful. Appreciate you. Yeah, we'll talk tomorrow, Dave. We'll talk to Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com, and we'll talk about that Asa Newell visit that completed last week. Of course, with the game this week, we've got more visitors expected. Tim pointing out Mike Whitson and his staff out to visit multiple guys. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. We'll see if Matt Taylor joins us up next here on the big one. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway, brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market, where we will be tomorrow. Make sure you stop by, check out the best lays of cut meats around, and biggest, I think they may have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, operating bakeries around as well. We're back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
You're live in about a minute.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't see why not. Was there beer sales at Hoosier Hysteria? Good question.
You're live in about 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. Jim Coyle with you. Looking forward to talking to Collin Hartman in the next segment. We'll get caught up on his expectations for IU basketball, but also some new happenings in the NIL world. We'll talk about that as well in an effort to prop up the basketball program. And I asked if there were beer sales at Hoosier Hysteria. Wyatt saying that there were. So expect beer sales for the exhibition game. They've got it going. So, oh yeah. Harper made that half-court shot. That's what it was. But, yeah, he enjoyed sticking that to the IU fans. So I don't see him. Now we've got somebody saying that there's no beer sale at the exhibition. So why would they have sold beer at Hoosier Hysteria? So I don't know to answer your question. I don't get to participate in that anyway. So, but I will. I do want to find that out. That wouldn't make sense. Why they wouldn't. Robert says, "Let the suds flow, baby." Oh yeah, how about that? Thanks a lot for pointing that out, Philip. Appreciate you, and appreciate you listening. But the IU football schedule for 2023 released yesterday, and here's a shocker. If you haven't seen it, this is going to surprise you. Indiana opening up the season against a Big Ten opponent. But hold on, wait, there's more. It's not just any Big Ten opponent. Yes, that's right. The Buckeyes of Ohio State. For the 5th time in 7 seasons, Indiana will open their football season with a Big Ten conference opponent. I guarantee you no other Big Ten team has done anything close to that. And I'll have to research that to confirm it. But I promise you, 2 times it's been against Ohio State. And of those 5 times, I'll have to go back and look to see what the average ranking was. But other than Illinois this year, who was not ranked at the time, but is currently ranked because they've only lost 1 game this season, and that was ironically, to Indiana. It's nuts. I don't understand with 12 games, how in the world they keep getting stuck like that. It's just amazing. I mean, it's just like, well, let's just not hide it. Let's just go ahead and do it. But yeah, I of all people, teams, really, you got to open. Why do you do that against your own conference? It's not even a cross league or a cross divisional game. It's like you are eating up your own from within to start the season. And that I'm not quite understanding what the point of that is, because it doesn't seem like, to me, it does much good. Hello, Matt Taylor.
What's happening?
Oh, I'm just sitting there lamenting about the release of next year's Indiana football schedule. And for the 5th time in 7 seasons, Indiana will open with a Big Ten opponent. And for the 2nd time in that stretch, it will be against Ohio State.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, yeah, you don't want to. Well, I mean, as you know, I mean, when you're opening up your first game, you don't want it to be against the defending Super Bowl champs. Every other year, it seems like, and especially if you're Indiana, you definitely want to get these non-con games under your belt to play. But
right,
that's not the case. They're good. They open up with Ohio State next year. Opened up with Illinois this year, ironically, who was not ranked. It may be the only time that Indiana opened up against a Big Ten team that wasn't ranked, although they are ranked now, because the only game that they've lost, Matt, is to Indiana, ironically.
And I think you just made my point for me is, especially if you're going to play Ohio State, because you have to play Ohio State regardless on the schedule. Might as well play them first when you're healthy, because it seems like, the IU is going to go into that game, in 2 weeks, and they're going to be decimated by injuries and really have no chance to win that football game. Might as well get them right out of the gate when you're healthy and when they haven't played a game either, right? So it's kind of even in terms of, our new players haven't played, and they haven't assimilated through the course of a 60-minute game from week 1 or week 2. So from that standpoint, I like the fact that you play in Ohio State right out of the gate, because you got to play them regardless. Might as well play them with a healthy deck, and you might as well get them when maybe they're a little bit rusty coming off of training camp, just like you are.
Yeah, well, there's definitely some to that, Matt, because I don't have to go back very far. I think it was 2016 when they played Ohio State to open the season. But after 3 quarters, I think it was 21-20. Yeah, it was 21-20 after 3 quarters. So
right,
Matt Taylor knows what he's talking about. Shocker there.
Yeah,
there's a flash.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have you seen a late November game, mid-November game against Wisconsin or Ohio State or Michigan, and IU has no chance to win that football game because they're missing 5 or 6 key frontline players, and the depth is such an issue when you play those teams regardless, but then you go into that game knowing that you're already behind the 8 ball in terms of personnel. So from that standpoint, I like the fact that you play them right out of the gate.
We have to. I agree with you 1,000%. I just held up my Chad Powers coffee mug, which reminds me you would be great at doing that. Oh my God!
At doing
you
what?
At pretending to be a walk-on, trying to get onto the Colts, trying to make it. I guarantee you, with makeup, half the Colts guys would not. Especially with your way of doing, with your voice of changing and all that, you could fool virtually everybody. I guarantee you, virtually everybody.
Yeah, I could dress up like as a new ESPN correspondent, like the national game of the week when the Colts play the Patriots in a couple weeks. Go in there and pretend I'm,
yes.
I'm Charles Brunson. Charles Brunson, the new correspondent from ESPN, ESPN.com. They would have no idea who I was.
See, this is real. We should do this on Colts.com or what?
I'll dress up in a suit. It'd be awesome.
Colts.com or whatever. They've got their own little deal going, don't they? That would be hilarious. You got to get the 80s mustache. You got to have the 80s mustache. I think you go all 80s. Just go all 80s.
Yeah, corduroy suit.
Well, corduroy, or I was thinking some polyester. Maybe that's early 80s.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Herb Tarlick. Going way back, baby. Way back.
You're making my head spin. My head's already spinning from this week. There's a lot going on up here. I don't know if I have the brain capacity for that just yet.
Well, I was trying to keep your mind off of it, to be honest with you.
I know, I understand, and I appreciate that.
But it's a lot of good stuff. And I did say, and before we get too much further, the obviously a change at not at the guard, but at the quarterback spot.
Changing of the guard,
yeah. But it was someone asked how to pronounce Sam Ehlinger's name yesterday, and you put out the tweet that promptly just laid it out perfectly. And you
think
said,
so?
Just like Austin Powell. Oh, absolutely. Because you cannot, there's no way anybody can screw up his name if you read that tweet. It's Ehlinger. Ehlinger, baby. Just like Austin Powers, baby.
Austin Powers.
Baby. That's quick. That was quick thinking.
It was debate on Ehlinger or Ehlinger, and it's been pronounced both ways for the last year and a half since he's signed with the Colts or been drafted by the Colts, and it's definitely Gur. So think Austin Powers, Gur, baby. Austin Powers.
Yep, that's just like Connor Bazelak. Everybody would say Bazelak, and it's
Bazelak.
Just Bazelak.
Yeah.
It's just Bazelak. But I don't have a good, I guess, Bays like Blaze, baby. Bays like Blaze.
There you go.
But so's that. So, yeah, changing of the guard at the quarterback spot with Sam Ehlinger this week. Hopefully that can spark some something. But, the offensive line has been probably as much or more of an issue, which that, again, sounds like we're talking about IU. But they have to get some of those things fixed.
Yeah, no doubt. And listen, it's when I first found out of this move, I mean, I had two different thoughts. I mean, the first thought was, just the fact that on the surface level of it, the Colts are benching Matt Ryan. Think about that. The Colts are benching Matt Ryan,
a guy who played in a Super Bowl, who should have won a Super Bowl.
Right. He's MVP of the league. He's top 10 all time and everything in the history of the league, in terms of passing and playing quarterback. Probably going to be a future Hall of Famer one day. As you said, I mean, just the guy that's, almost accomplished everything. And they're sitting that down for a guy that's literally never thrown a pass in the NFL. Now that'll change on Sunday. So when you think about it on the surface level, from that standpoint, it's astonishing. But then if you just remove the names and the faces from the equation, if you watch the games and you don't know it's Matt Ryan, and you look at the box score and you look at, how things have panned out so far, look at the statistics and things like that, you do come away knowing that a change is probably warranted right now. I mean, the Colts are, scoring 16 points per game. They've only been over 20 points once this season, lead the NFL in turnovers, lead the NFL in sacks and interceptions and fumbles. So it's disappointing where they are right now. I mean, that being said, they're still 3-1, and Matt Ryan, outside of the turnovers, I know this is going to sound crazy, he's having, or did have, a good season. I mean, outside of the turnovers, I know you can't take that away from the equation because those have been so prominent and prevalent. But he's, second in passing and completing 68% of his passes, and has led 4 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. So it's not all been his fault. There's no doubt about that. It's, as you said, it's the offensive line not protecting nearly at the same rate or the ability that they've shown in years past. The running game ranks 30th in the NFL with Jonathan Taylor. I mean, Jonathan Taylor led the NFL in rushing last year by about 500 yards, and he's averaging about 56 yards per game this year, and they rank 30th as a team. So they're just, I mean, at this point, knowing that it's going to be very difficult to win the division for the first time since 2014, You got swept by the Titans. That game last week meant so much in terms of the math and the probability and, those head-to-head matchups. So, you're behind the 8 ball with Tennessee. They've got the tiebreaker on you. But that being said, there's still 10 games left. Maybe they can make a push at a wild card, and they think that with the poor protection they've gotten and the 7-game body of work that they've seen from Matt Ryan, they're going to go in a different direction here with some more mobility and maybe a little bit more pop with the scrambling nature, if you will, from Sam Ehlinger. That's kind of where this league is going in terms of dual threat quarterbacks. And they've liked Sam for a long time. They've wanted to see what he can do. And the situation that they're in provides them this opportunity to see what Sam is made of, give him a 10-game sample size, and see where he factors in to the equation of how urgent they need to be this upcoming offseason and attacking and getting and acquiring the franchise quarterback of the future. Can that guy be Sam Ehlinger? Well, they're gonna use this time to find out where he kind of factors in on what they need to do at quarterback in the long term.
If someone did a piece on NFL quarterbacks right now, I would title it "Fine Young Quarterbacks." Fine young cannibals, get it?
Oh, I'm not privy to that reference, man. That went way over my head. I'm not a morning guy. You know this about me. My brain is not functioning at max capacity right now.
Fine Young Cannibals was a kind of a flash band in maybe the late 80s. But I would title it "Fine Young Quarterbacks" because the youth movement, man, is blowing my mind of the quarterbacks in this league right now that are playing, not only playing, but playing well. We just saw Justin Fields make the Bears look like a football team the other night.
Mm-hmm.
But he's not the only one. There are so many that are, whether it's Tunga Vailoa or whomever, all these young guys out there, Trevor Lawrence. I've talked about it with other guys. Usually it was like a 2-3 year tutelage before they would see the field. These guys are hitting the field quick now,
right? And
playing and impacting games.
And that's the predicament that the Colts are in. I mean, if you go back and look at, if you just look at the decisions that they've made, independently of each other, you can understand how the Colts arrived at where they're at right now, given the fact that Sam Ehlinger is going to represent the 8th different starting quarterback that Frank Reich has had since 2018. Think about that. 8 different quarterbacks in 4 years plus 7 games. It's unbelievable. But, last year, the draft didn't have a lot of great quarterbacks. The free agent talent pool at quarterback wasn't all that great. That's how they got to Matt Ryan after, the Falcons flirted with Deshaun Watson and that relationship sort of deteriorated. So, the Colts have been
no pun intended there, I'm sure.
Sure. So the Colts have since 2019, right? Since the day Andrew Luck retired, the Colts have been a pretty good roster, and they've been competitive enough to not, in terms of the draft order and where they're slotted to pick in the first round, they've been competitive enough and finished good enough to not be in a position to draft a high-end rookie quarterback. But they've also been year to year in these last couple of off seasons, they've been just, promising enough on paper, roster wise, to justify looking for plug and play veterans, to sort of say that the Colts were, 1 or 2 pieces away from really being in contention to win the AFC South and maybe, being one of the top teams in the AFC to make a good playoff push. That's been their predicament. And what I just described to you was a long-winded way of saying just sort of NFL purgatory. And they're trying to get out of that, right? They're trying to get out of that. And this is sort of the idea in mind here with this 10-game stretch with Sam Ehlinger to figure out what he is, what he's made of, who he's, what he's about as a quarterback, and figure out where he falls into the equation, how he factors into the equation of what they need to do this upcoming offseason at quarterback.
Well, they sound a lot like the Indiana Pacers. The situation that they have been in, always been competitive, had their moments at the top, but they've not been at the bottom. They've just been there. And so they also, last year was the first single-digit draft pick they had since 1989, I believe.
I think that's right. Yeah.
So they're the same kind of situation. And our friend Bob Kravitz, he's like, hey, tank, let them tank. They've got to tank. He wants them to tank. I don't think that they'll have to work too hard at it. They've got the pieces there, just not quite enough. But that's fine because they're going to get that piece or pieces that really elevates them. And I know football is different because it's bigger, more numbers. We're talking one guy usually doesn't make that big of a difference, but we're talking about the quarterback position. It absolutely does. We've seen that with some guy named Peyton Manning for Indianapolis.
I think it's definitely worth clarifying though with this move. It's much more about Sam Ehlinger and not at all about tanking because the Colts are not tanking. They're not punting to next season.
Oh no, Jim Irsay would not. I think he would have a cardiac arrest if someone even brought that up to him.
No, you don't make this move with 10 games left. And again, the math says this season is still very much salvageable. And the Colts are still a relatively healthy team and a team that's still full of, they had 7 Pro Bowlers last year. Now Unique Ngakwe's here, Stephon Gilmore's here. You tell those guys, hey guys, guess what? We're going to punt towards next season. So just kind of chill out for the next, 2.5 months. Like, are you kidding me? Those guys will fight you. They'll rip your head off. I still think there's still plenty of chapters left to write and read about this Colts team. But there's no doubt the novel of the 2022 season just took a big plot twist turn, on Monday morning with the announcement of Sam Ehlinger.
Well, brother, I cannot thank you enough. I hope that it's an exciting game this week.
It will be. It will be.
I'm looking for well, you always make it exciting no matter what, but I expect it to be very exciting. What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I'm just I'm eager to see. Yeah, I'm just eager to see, what the offense looks like under Sam. Obviously, the biggest strength that he has at quarterback is his mobility. Now, saying that, his arm strength is much better compared to last year. I think it's been well chronicled. He worked out with Tom House in the offseason, the quarterback guru, the mechanics, throwing doctor, if you will. And his velocity is way up, and he's making throws this year that I don't think he would attempt last year. So I think he's ready for this. We know the type of competitor that he is and just, what he's made up from a mental makeup standpoint with, the adversity that he's faced in his life and, 4-year starter at Texas. This is going to sound cliche and hyperbole, but I think in some ways there's more pressure being the 4-year starter at Texas than coming here in this situation with the Colts, considering how crazy those fans are down there in Austin every year and how much football means down in that state. But you get what I'm saying. This is not going to overwhelm him. So just excited to see what this opportunity means for him, what the offense can look like, how much he can help the offensive line. Maybe he can scramble around for an extra first down or two late in the game and, eke out a drive and get the Colts into a field goal situation late in the game. So it's just going to be fun to see, how he tries to maximize this opportunity for him, because 6th-round picks, they don't get these chances too often. And he's earned it. He's a great guy. He's easy to root for. And so on a personal level, I'm excited for him and excited to see what he can do.
Looking forward to it, my friend. I hope it's a good one and a fun broadcast.
I appreciate you, brother. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Looking forward to talking to Collin Hartman of IU basketball up here next. Brought to you by our good friends at Go Team, a part of the WOW Club and the WOW Network, Endeavor Hospitality. You can go to GoTeamBites.com and find out all about keeping yourself up and going, especially for those on the go. We're back with more here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Okay, so this is the 9-10. I'm going to tell. What's up?
What's up, Jim? How are you? You hear me?
I'm wonderful. Oh, yeah, I like the charm, brother.
All right, sounds good.
How you doing?
Oh, just driving on beautiful 70, dodging semis.
Love the life you love.
Oh, yeah. Life on the road.
Let's see. Where did I get back down to here? So what is your daughter's name? You say Holland? Is it Holland?
Yeah, like the country. It's actually my mother-in-law's maiden name. So, yeah.
I got to put that in here so I don't have to ask anymore.
That's smart.
What's your wife's name?
Mary Kate.
Does she have a sister named Ashley?
Yeah, she had $1 for every time she got that one growing up.
I hear you, boy.
She does not, though, to answer your question. She does not.
That's unfortunate for me.
Oh, man.
Baby, we gotta get it going today. How's it going? Up and at it.
Rise and grind. Rise and grind.
What is the name? Does your position have a name?
At Hoosiers Connect?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vice President of Partnerships.
All right, so Hoosiers Connect is the name of that.
Yep.
Vice President. Vice President of what?
Partnerships.
I like how they do that.
I mean, I had a lot of say in that.
Right.
You're live in 30 seconds, Jim.
Thank you.
I was going to know we weren't live. I was like, that guy,
Oh,
he's shooting from the hip.
All day, baby. Like Jesse James.
Sheesh. That's funny.
You headed towards B-Town or Indy?
Indy.
You're live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. Coming to you here on this Thursday from high atop the 18th fairway of the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by our good friend Collin Hartman, former Hoosier basketball player, now the Vice President of Partnerships for Hoosiers Connect, in NIL, a branch of Hoosiers for Good, I guess you would call that, right, Collin?
Something of the sort. We are completely separate entities, but we do kind of operate closely.
You're not so you're not fighting each other.
Correct. We are not.
Damn, I was hoping to maybe get you and Tyler Harris in the ring and we could do like a 3-round thing. Just 3 rounds, 3 minutes.
Oh, you think it's gonna last 3 rounds?
Ooh, threw it down already. I was giving
Tyler
my man.
would whoop me for sure. Tyler would whoop me.
I don't
He's got
know,
4
man.
kids. He's built for it.
That's right. Speaking of which, Collin Hartman, and I'll give his wife the credit, Mary Kate, but they just had a beautiful new baby girl, Holland. Congratulations.
Thank you. She's 2 months old yesterday, so she's growing up quick on us.
2 months yesterday. Wow. Let me ask you that. Did you celebrate that? Did you celebrate that milestone?
We had. Well, no. I think our degree of celebration at this point is we made ourselves cookies. That's about it.
That's perfect. Well, you'll have fun. Yeah, I remember. It's having a daughter will certainly. Boy, yeah, it'll be fun. You'll love it, every minute of it. But congratulations to you and Mary Kate. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
So, Hoosiers Connect.
Trouble, let's be honest. Yeah.
Oh, I got news for you. It's over, baby. If you ever thought about the possibility of being right. You might have had a 60-40 shot before. That just went to like 10-90. And
I got no shot.
and the 10 is just a courtesy number.
It's when they're bored with winning and being right all the time.
Yeah.
You can have this one.
Exactly. Hoosiers Connect, VP of Partnerships. We know about Hoosiers for Good, the biggest and I guess you'd call it the official NIL arm connected to IU and IU athletes. But what you're doing is a little different. Hoosiers for Good obviously works with big corporations and on a large scale. Talk about what you're doing, especially for any businesses that are out there listening.
Yeah, so Hoosiers for Good is the charitable entity. They partner with charities to essentially raise the awareness of the charity and the events, their utilization of the athletes' platforms, and all at the same time exposing the student athletes to meaningful causes, charities that they probably wouldn't have otherwise, had that exposure to. So there's a lot of multifaceted things to Hoosiers for Good that, are extremely good, right? Now on Hoosiers Connect side, through a lot of the conversations that were had with the individuals contributing to Hoosiers for Good, they wanted an avenue to get involved on a business level, get their businesses involved in NIL deals with student athletes. So we help facilitate those. We have corporate sponsorship avenues that we facilitate deals with student athletes, whether the business wants to have an athlete represent their brand or not, or if they want exclusive access to athletes and experiences with athletes, memorabilia, signed balls, signed jerseys, different events that we'll put together that student athletes will be present at. We could have student athletes be present at the businesses' events, whether those are internal or external facing. So there's a lot of different ways that the cake can be cut, for lack of a better term. But ultimately, we wanted to create a platform for businesses to engage in the NIL space at whatever capacity they'd like, whether they want to hire more people and gain exposure for a certain position or gain exposure for a certain property to drive increase in leases or whatever that may be. We help them navigate with their marketing team or kind of serve as their marketing team in the NIL space. So we wanted to create a premium one-stop shop option to allow businesses and individuals, and I'll get into individuals here in a minute, but a lot of businesses didn't know how to reach out to athletes in a professional manner, didn't know what the quote unquote market value is because it varies per athlete, and didn't know how to structure the contract in a compliant manner, and didn't have the relationship with the athletes or their agents, which they're allowed to have now, which throws in a whole nother fold, how to interact with them throughout the negotiation process. So what we do is we have a turnkey solution for businesses to engage, so they don't have to utilize their legal team, they don't have to utilize their marketing team at the fullest extent, and we can kind of shoulder a lot of that bandwidth from, taking it from their entire team, even if they have those in place. So, we want to keep the players safe in a compliant manner. We want to keep the university safe in a compliant manner, and we want to keep the business safe in a compliant manner. So that's what our goal is to do, is kind of to be the go-to premium outlet for individuals and businesses, that want those experiences and want those tangible benefits with student athletes at IU.
And yesterday, the NCAA released new guidelines because let's face it, it's been the wild, wild west out there. People don't know who to turn to, who they can turn to, who they should turn to, and why. And the NCAA was growing, ever increasingly worried because, you've just got people running around doing stuff, collecting money, and it gets a little dicey. So this is also a way where people should be able to feel uber confident that Hoosiers for Good and Hoosiers Connect is the way to go if you're wanting support NIL and NIL student athletes for Indiana University. That is the way to go, in my opinion. And these guidelines are part of that, but you may have a better way of explaining why it's better to go through Hoosiers for Good and Hoosiers Connect.
Yeah, I think you're spot on in a lot of ways, Jim. I think the one thing that I always add, I don't have a compliance background. I have an athletics background.
Were you at least compliant?
I was always compliant. I played by the rules. My market value wasn't high enough to not play by the rules. So, no, I think
it's like Charles Barkley said, man, they could have bought me with some McDonald's.
Exactly. You know what? Where do I sign? So, no, I think it speaks volumes that Tyler Harris, who's also involved in Hoosiers for Good, is the executive director for Hoosiers Connect as well. And his past role was head of compliance, the entire department at Indiana University. So he has a lot of connectivity. Before that, he was at Iowa State in a compliance role, and then before that, he was he did an internship at the NCAA in compliance. So he still has a lot of connectivity to the NCAA. He keeps a lot of tabs on what's going on. We have connectivity with compliance still at IU. And so from a legal perspective, we always consult our attorneys that, we partner with to make sure that everything's compliant when new regulations come out. And so I think in an ever-changing space of NIL, a lot of people are hesitant to get into it because they don't know, like, well, what if this changes? What if this changes? And that's what we wanted to do, is allow people to get into NIL with confidence that they will be protected from a legal and compliance standpoint if, they utilize our recommendations and the way that we navigate things with their team.
And as we can all see, that plays heavily into recruiting. Indiana still needing to land some recruits for next year, but it's not just basketball that you guys are working on, correct?
Correct. We facilitate deals. If somebody has an interest in the women's basketball team or the women's soccer team or the men's soccer team or the baseball team or wrestling or rowing, whatever that may be, we have connectivity to all sports. At the end of the day, the nature of the environment is that, we facilitate the deals on behalf of the businesses. We don't work for the student athletes. We're not agents. We don't take percentages. And so, it's whatever the businesses come to us with or the individuals come to us with. And we'll gladly interact and allocate those funds and negotiate the deals on behalf of the business with the student athletes and or their agents for any sport. It's just a matter of what the quote unquote market is interested in.
Yeah. And Indiana is definitely not coming to the party late. They were one of the first and are one of the best at getting all kinds of marketing plans up, I see, for the student athletes. I've seen a bunch of the group that's working with the branding side of their merchandise and whatnot. They're getting it out. So there's so many different avenues. It can be so very confusing to people. And that's why that I think, man, people have to get educated and not get overwhelmed with other people saying, well, we can do this and that and the other thing. Well, maybe they can, but you just want to know that you're always on the right side of things, and going through Hoosiers for Good and Hoosiers Connect guarantees you that you're on the right side.
Yeah, that's what we want. We want to create security and take that worry off the table for people. And at the end of the day, we drive a lot of value in, what people contribute to. You get a lot of value either on the Hoosiers for Good side, you get a tax deduction, or on the Hoosiers Connect side, we built in, you get an exorbitant amount of benefits, signed balls, signed jerseys, shirts, exclusive interviews and videos with the players, exclusive experiences depending on what level you come in, tours of the facilities, things of that nature, dinner, annual gala, a whole bunch of things that you guys can find on our website if you're interested. There's different levels that individuals can get involved. So if you don't have the thousands of dollars of checks to just cut today, we have lower levels that you can get in and contribute on a much smaller level, but still get some value back with some of the experiences and things of that nature and the access, and still feel like you're contributing to the NIL space.
What is the website?
HoosiersConnect.com. HoosiersConnect.com.
That's easy.
Yeah. And so we have everything on there from a corporate involvement standpoint, from an individual involvement standpoint. And if you guys have if there's ever any questions, there's an email on there that, comes straight to I have access to the email. I'll be fielding questions if there's anything that the website doesn't address. So, yeah, we launched a few weeks ago and are just trying to get the word out that, this is an option on top of Hoosiers for Good to get involved, to get a lot of value, and to have options in terms of dollar amounts that, within your budget or within your willingness. So it's something that, Jim, and I think you can speak to this a little bit, is NIL's here, whether you like it, hate it, or indifferent to it. It's here. It's not going anywhere. And, it's the game that, if we do it at a high level as a university, as a collectives, right? If we do it at a very, very high level, we can turn around, the football team. We can continue to get IU basketball back to, back towards that sixth banner, which Coach Woody is, the guys he's got in the locker room now, the staff that he has. I mean, there's, we're definitely trending in the correct direction. So I think that taking care of NIL and taking that worry off, incoming recruits' plates on just opportunities. We don't talk to recruits. We don't talk to them unless they're signed and on campus, right? So from a compliance standpoint, so, we want to take that part of the equation kind of out of it, for lack of a better term, in my opinion, and just let Coach Woodson and, the players just get back to playing ball to a certain extent, because it's a necessity at this point. If you look at recruiting back in the day, it was all like, how great are your facilities? Can you get me to the league? This, that, and other thing. Those are all givens now, especially for the top players. You have to have great facilities. You have to be able to, develop players and get them to the NBA. You have to have decent school programs, right? Those are all givens. Those are standards, right? But now the main X factor is NIL. What are student athletes' NIL opportunities? There's no guarantees. We don't talk dollar amounts. We don't talk to recruits at all. But as a family, they're going to talk to current players for sure, right, on their recruiting visits and ask, like, is the NIL environment here good or not? Like, do we have opportunities, or are we going to be scrounging and fighting for, our own? So I think that building in the infrastructure that we have, the structure that we have with Hoosiers for Good and Hoosiers Connect, giving people the options, is going to be really good for, the businesses that want to get involved, the individuals that want to get involved, and the student athletes to, know that everything's done in a compliant manner.
And I noticed on the website you can see the board members as well. And this is a who's who. Jenna Finlinson, a great former IU athlete. Jared Jeffries, of course. Brenna Wise and Wesley Jones. Not only are released, I don't think Wesley was an IU athlete, but the other three great IU athletes But
Yeah.
all four of them extraordinarily smart people. Brenna, I noticed that she's a double major, went to a double major from the Kelly School of Business, no less, with 2 degrees in marketing and professional sales. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah.
Not 1, but 2 damn degrees from the Kelly School. I've only been to the Kelly School once, and that was to take my daughter on a visit. It's like they wouldn't even let me in that building, man.
Probably for good reasons, Jim. You can't deny that.
I promise you. Dude, why do you think I'd never even gone in? I'd never even attempted to go in there before. I was like, oh, so this is what this looks like. I'd seen it from outside walking to class.
Nice.
But, well, man, this is awesome. We look forward to hearing more as the season starts this Saturday, so to speak, with an exhibition game. Quick thoughts on what do you expect to see on the court?
No, I mean, I think we're deep. I think we're very athletic. I do not envy Coach Woodson's duty to decide who's going to play and how much, because it's just so deep, right? And I think that's good for, longevity throughout a long season. If injuries cycling through, God forbid, but being able to have that depth is going to be huge. I'm looking forward to the season, honestly. I really am. I've watched a few workouts. They have some good heads on their shoulders, great leadership with, Trace and Race and Xavier and Miller. I mean, they got some experience. And so it's going to be a fun year, in my opinion. A lot of big games.
Yeah, I was looking at some NBA box scores last night, and I was counting the players that played. I was a little surprised. The Pacers played 11, and whoever they played 13 guys. I'm like, wow, that's a lot. And then I'm like, all right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Indiana's, and I'm thinking they're probably 10, maybe 11 for a regular game. It may tighten a little bit, but there's 10 or 11 guys that I would expect to see the floor. And more than that in this game, and being an exhibition game, more than that. But if this were a regular game, I'm like, wow. I'm sure he'll pare it down some, but right now I'm like, wow, it's going to be hard to keep. There's 11 guys. I'm like, there's no way that one of those guys doesn't play.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think the practices are going to be hyper competitive. I find it hard to see Coach Woodson, playing more than 10 guys. I don't know. Maybe not. I think that it'll, like you said, tighten up and fluctuate throughout the year. But I mean, there's a certain part to where there's got to be a chemistry on the floor. You got to give time to give guys time to get in rhythms on the floor and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you're playing too many guys, that the amount of time and the allowance for people to get in rhythms and stuff of that nature and develop the chemistry on the court, it begins to shrink. So,
and that seemed to be a serious issue last year, Collin. They, other than the five, the starting five, and even that five was not always in sync. But boy, they really had such a drop off when they would start commingling. They just did not seem in sync a lot of the times last year.
Yeah, I think that there's been a few changes, guys leaving and guys getting here, that will tighten that up a little bit. I think, Coach Woodson was in some tight spots last year on deciding, who to play when, and, do you give a guy experience or do you play the guy with experience or, whatever that looks like. But I think that will be tightened up being, round two and having these guys be in a little bit longer, be in the system longer, and, guys get more comfortable in the leadership roles. So I think that'll all tighten up with time. And I think this summer they've put a lot of that in to, create that cohesiveness with different units and things of that nature. So I'm very optimistic of the season.
Will you be at the game Saturday?
No, I will not be.
Okay. We'll see you soon at the next one, I'm sure. So we'll take care of baby Holland, man.
I will. I don't have a choice. she depends
That's
on
right.
me.
That's right. Don't forget that.
I give majority of the credit to Mary Kate. So she puts the team on her back.
That was already assumed. We already assumed that.
Yeah.
Especially any male should assume that. Well, brother, we appreciate you and look forward to seeing you and look forward to hearing more about Hoosiers Connect. Make sure you can go to HoosiersConnect.com and be a part of helping the IU athletics community get up and competitive, baby, as they're about to welcome in UCLA and USC, and it's going to be fun.
Yes, sir.
We're going to the West Coast, Collin. We're going to the West Coast, baby. Poly Pavilion.
Oh, we're going to be Cali boys.
We'll be doing the show from Poly Pavilion. How about that? Can't wait. Well, brother,
did you do you have a few more minutes, or are we hopping off?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. We got whatever you need.
So did you see the release on Tennessee's collective and what they've raised?
No.
The numbers are staggering.
Now
they did just beat Alabama.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that for football mainly? Because we know those SEC schools are just madhouses.
Let's see. Tennessee has raised over $10 million for NIL, and they've allocated $4 million.
Oh, dude, that's nothing. You know, Texas A&M's at 20 was it 25 million?
Yeah, and well, that's Tennessee's goal is 25 million, and it's
it's
incredible.
Yeah. Well, you beat Alabama again. Yeah, annual goal $25 million. Does Hoosiers for Good have an annual goal?
We're working on that. You know, we're still getting our legs underneath us from what's the environment like at IU from people's interest in getting involved. I think that we still have to get our name out there, but we've worked much harder in the last couple of weeks figuring out what a number is.
Well, and speaking of that NIL, the Spire Sports Group was one of the first NIL collectives to make headlines. That's because in March of this year, The Athletic reported a 5-star recruit in the class of 23 was getting $8 million from an NIL collective. They didn't mention Tennessee. It was also lost that the deal was not guaranteeing $8 million and would be for multiple years. But I think they figured out who that was for, and that was a kid going to Tennessee. He committed 10 days after that report. So can you imagine that? Hell, why would you go pro? $8 million? I'm good.
Well, and it's different for football players. They have to stay in for 3 years anyways.
Yep.
Basketball players, they're 1-year deals, and they can just, go straight to the NBA. So, yeah,
do you think this is only going to keep certain guys from going to the NBA, though?
Right. I think it'll keep fringe guys from going to the NBA.
Like me?
I think, like you. Like, guys who are right on the cusp. Maybe they'll get drafted. Maybe they won't. G League, if they go to the league, get drafted, they'll probably bounce around the G League a little bit, or they'll have to go overseas. This will keep guys, allow guys to stay if they want, right? This will allow guys to stay if they want from a financial perspective, finish their degrees, get another shot at, the conference championship, Big Ten championship, whatever, national championship. So I think there's a lot of good that NIL does, and I think it gets a lot of bad light because it'll keep good players, really good college players in college, and not have to make them, from a financial standpoint, try to go overseas or go to the NBA and bounce around and then fall out and then have no degree finished and not really know what they're doing because they've spent their whole life on basketball. This will allow them to, or football, right, or whatever their sport may be, allow them to stay, make money, finish their degree, and all of those things. So I think there's a lot of good that also comes from NIL, outside of all the, the bad press that it gets.
What about maybe striking up a deal with Kanye West Donda Academy? I hear that they're looking for partners that they don't have anymore. Maybe get some Yeezys.
They're not out of my price range.
Well, they're about to be in everybody's price range, I think, as he's being dropped by everybody. But yeah, man, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. I look forward to talking about it as the season goes on and now we're getting the season started. I know a lot of people are excited for that. So, and then there's be a lot of events going on throughout the year. So we look forward to keeping everybody updated on those and maybe doing some live stuff. So it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. It'll be awesome.
But buddy, we look forward to talking to you more about it.
All right. I appreciate you, Jim.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Collin Hartman, former Hoosier basketball player, now VP of Partnerships for Hoosiers Connect, NIL Collective under Hoosiers for Good. Make sure you go to HoosiersConnect.com. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you, of course, by our good friend Cheryl Sizemore. If you're in the Indianapolis area looking for a home, reach out to Cheryl. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com, or if you're in the Louisville, Southern Indiana, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas. Barbara Pop Real Estate Services has served that community for 3 decades. Reach out to Barbara at BarbaraPop.com or Matt Lincoln, Matt at BarbaraPop.com. We got more coming up. Kyler Staley from thehoosier.com joined us to get you updated on recruiting. We're back to the 18th at Country Club after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right, you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Make this a regular break. I think I'm a break short, right?
Yes. Yeah, right now
Okay.
we're on track to enter segment 5.
So one thing that I could do is
I can edit a commercial in, and if I can find a natural pause.
exactly. I was trying to say that it won't be as smooth as normal because I won't announce it. But I'll tell you where there's a spot where the very beginning of it, or the start, we talked about the NIL stuff mainly, and then we stopped and I switched to basketball this weekend.
I caught that.
Yeah, so that would be a great or a possibility of a spot.
I got you. I can make that happen. Cool. So we're on track then.
And if I need, I need to stop at 10:27 today then, right?
Yes.
To give you that 3 minutes back.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
All right, perfect. That was good stuff, though.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he got me more excited for the season, honestly. Not that I wasn't excited, but he got me even more excited that he's been around it. There's Kyler.
Hey guys,
Hey, Kyler.
What's up?
I'm having trouble with my camera, so for some reason it's not working. I'm gonna exit out, then join back in, see if that works.
Yeah, I was going to say try that.
Okay. You guys are live in about 45 seconds, just so you know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on today.
Huh. Go into your settings on not your phone settings, but on whatever the hell we're on.
StreamYard.
Damn it. Yeah, StreamYard. and there is the camera setting.
Yeah, it's that front camera. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, baby.
Jim, you're live in about 15 seconds. Do you want me to, or do you want me to wait for Kyler?
But what does mirror my camera do? What does that do?
I'm not sure.
Oh, it flips you the opposite way.
Nothing's working.
All right, you guys are live in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you here on this Thursday. We're deep into October. It's the 27th. Halloween's right around the corner. Speaking of which, we got spooky Kyler Staley with us from the Hoosiers.com. Ghost version. Ghost version. Oh, yeah, still got that up. Kanye West, breaking news, Donda Academy cancels their hoop season.
Yeah,
shocker.
I mean,
what am I going to do with all my Yeezy collection, man?
I don't know. You might have to sell it.
The truth. He wants to see Indiana play Evansville. Well,
that
the
could
truth
happen.
says, when are we going to get the truth on? You know what? One of these days we're going to start taking calls and get the truth on. I know the truth. Like, I've heard him on like post-game football shows, call in, that listening. He's down in the Evansville area. We appreciate you. We're going to get you on, man, because you've got some good stuff to say. Yeah, I don't know the in-state school thing. Yeah, but see, the thing is, those are games that some people look at it like, well, that's Indiana helping the other state schools. Well, not really. I guess it gives them some exposure, but if Indiana were to lose that game, I mean, Kentucky lost to them a couple years ago, but when you lose to if you recall, Indiana losing to Indiana State and Indiana Fort Wayne.
Yep.
And so that was just, you knew that, oh boy, you're like, oh, things are bad. So I don't know where I am on the state school thing now. Cause there's enough games that they could probably do that. If it works out. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but go ahead.
The two exhibition games, I mean, those are in-state schools.
So, yeah.
I mean,
and they're not nearly as strong as, say, at Evansville. They're not, the D1 school. Marion is just a practice game. It is going, the AD there though is Steve Downing, by the way, former IU star from the 70s, former Bob Knight assistant as well. So there's that. That's part of it. There's the IU connection. So that's probably has a little bit more to do with it than anything. You see that happen more when there's relationships. They do that. They schedule those kinds of games. But this Saturday, Indiana takes on Marion at 3:00, of course, in an exhibition game. We'll get our first look at this season's Hoosiers and some mixes and matches of play. There will be visitors in the house, I'm assuming, Kyler Staley.
I would expect so. Yeah, I mean, you could get the local guys like Jalen and Trent. They might come for the games, but right now we're still kind of working on confirming to see if there are going to be some visitors this weekend. Right now, we haven't heard anything concrete wise, but I mean, Indiana right now, they're on the road. They're hitting up practices right now and recruiting. Mike Woodson and Kenya Hunter just went down to Florida yesterday, I believe, to IMG Academy. That is where Tamar Bates came from to check out a 2023 prospect, big man prospect, Braden Pierce, 7 foot, 245 pounds, was originally in the 2022 class, but took a prep school or a prep year, and now he's in the 23 class. So that's a little interesting. I mean, there's no offer there, but I mean, it looks like they're still trying to see if they can find a big guy, a front court piece in that 23 class.
Well, and is a little interesting because that's the first truly big that I remember Mike recruiting. I mean, he doesn't, well, I mean, he's gone after some 6'10" guys, but they've been really hitting those 6'8", 6'9" guys.
The athletic guys.
And that kind of positionless basketball, whatever you want to call it. But 7-footer would be kind of a little different. There's also I think that Montverde has a 7'6" player. I think
I think so. I don't know.
It's like a sophomore.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Reaching out to the 7-footer. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's surprising. It's just different from what we've seen thus far.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I mean, like you said, it's not really Woodson's like kind of cup of tea. That's more of a Matt Painter type of thing. I bet Painter is he is recruiting this kid. But yeah, it's just interesting because you thought the 23 kind of class was kind of over with at this point. Maybe in the spring they would look at a guy maybe to maybe they can get late. But I mean, I guess Pierce maybe kind of falls into that category. Maybe they get him late in the season. But yeah, it is interesting. It shows to me that they do realize the need of a front court player in the 23 class in the 23 season. I still expect them to, hit the transfer portal hard next year. But I mean, I don't know much about this guy, but from what I sound, you can't teach a 7-foot tall guy. So we'll see about that. I don't know how the recruitment is going to develop right there. Like I said, there's not an offer yet. So we'll just see how that kind of develops.
Yeah. We've talked with Alec quite a bit that IU is going to have to hit the portal because they'll have at least 2 open scholarships. That's with the way things are right now. A little surprising that they weren't able to close that out via the old-fashioned recruiting. I'll be honest with you, in this second season, as you have to win. But I think that although Mike Whitson and crew have only had one season, I think that people from the outside should be able to look and say, well, they made a hell of a lot of improvement in one season. And to see that things are going in that right direction. But everyone also knows that this is Trace Jackson Davis last season, Race Thompson's last season, that they're going to get kind of decimated there. Xavier's last season. So they're going to have, and then there's the possibility that it could be a one and done for Jalen Hood-Schifino. Not saying it is, but if that were to be the case, Indiana would get wrecked. So I can understand some guys sitting back and looking and waiting to see one more year.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we talked about it before on here. I mean, a lot of these prospects, they want to see Indiana win. And this year is perfectly example of, if they can win a Big Ten championship and everything. It's going to open the eyes for the 24s and the 25s. Those classes is going to open them. It's like, okay, Indiana's a winning program. Woodson gets guys to the NBA. It'll be a perfect match made in heaven right there. But yeah, there is question marks. I mean, right there you have potentially 4. I mean, Miller Koff is another guy. I mean, there's 5 open spots and stuff. They got the backcourt situation, somewhat figured out, I would say, with Gabe Cupps and Ja'Kai Newton coming in for the 23 class, but that front court situation, I mean, that's a really key area of focus for Indiana, and they're going to have to figure out whether they want to get guys that commit late, they want to get a guy like Derek Queen to reclassify and come in a year up, or they want to hit the transfer portal. Still question marks, and I mean, obviously adding this Braden Pierce guy to their kind of target list is very interesting.
Yeah. Also, I know that yesterday I saw a post from Heritage Hills basketball that assistant Brian Walsh was down to see 2025 forward Trent Sisley, which of course Indiana has just basically adopted. Him and Jalen Harrelson, they have almost adopted those guys, showing the love.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Walsh, I mean, he's been really the lead recruiter with Trent. Those two have really built a big relationship. And then also, I mean, people kind of miss this. From what I heard yesterday, I think it was Yasir Roseman was up here at Fisher's checking out Jalen Harrelson. So it was a big recruiting day. You had Woodson and Hunter down in Florida, and then you got Brian Walsh going down there to continue to build that relationship with Trent Sisley. And then obviously you got Yasir up here, checking out Jalen. So Jalen and Trent, they're going to keep recruiting those guys the hardest out of any 25, I think. And they're just continuing to build a strong relationship. It's a really good, strong relationship at this point.
And that's what you have to do. And that's why I think that even though they kind of whipped a little bit on this class, that they just didn't have the relationships established yet. for this year. I think going forward, beginning next season, that's not going to be the case. But this season was just one that caught them, and guys that were further into their decision-making process. But I just think that that's all. It was about timing.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about Woodson's first year. He basically had to re-recruit the players that were already on IU, so that took up a lot of his recruiting. And then he was able to, build relationships with the other three before Malik committed. You had Caleb, CJ, and Jalen. He was able to build that relationship, and they bought into what Woodson is trying to sell his program on and everything. And then you get Malik, which was huge for them. And then it's just kind of, the 23s really were just, I don't know. They were just a little hesitant, in my opinion. They saw what Indiana did last year. There was a lot of ups and downs throughout the season and everything, and they're just a little bit, nervous. We commit to Indiana. Is that going to be a winning program? Is Woodson going to do what he says he can do and get me to the NBA? I don't know. But the 24s and 25s, they're really recruiting those kids hard. They're building the relationships 2 years in advance. So expect to see, the 24 class. It's going to have a lot more commits, I think, moving forward. And then the 25 class, they're continuing to build strong relationships there as well.
Absolutely. We look forward to seeing who will be in attendance this weekend. I don't expect to. I think we're going to get to see a lot of different players play this week of the scholarship guys. I do expect the starting lineup to be what most of us already assume is Trace Race, of course. I think Miller Kopp is in that starting lineup along with Xavier and Jalen Hood-Schifino. And then I'm interested to see what goes on from that point and how they're going to handle it. Caleb Nost, a contributor to the Hoosier.com, says that 7'6" kid can barely run the floor. He'll absolutely end up in West Lafayette, though. Yeah, that sounds a lot like Zach Edey.
Yeah,
we'll see. Robert says that's what the Crossroads Classic would be good for. Yeah, that's why they got rid of the Crossroads Classic. It would be good for those teams without Indiana in it. Yes, I agree with you. If you want the Crossroads Classic should be Evansville, Ball State, Valpo, and whomever else, IU Fort Wayne or whatever.
Indiana State.
Yeah, there you go. That was horrible for Indiana. It cost them opportunities. But getting back off of that, Caleb Nost also said he spoke to Scott Heddy earlier this week. He plans on playing everybody. 3 Division I transfers on their roster and several others that had D1 interest. What team is he talking about?
I think he's talking about Marion.
Oh, okay. I was thinking of Steve Downing. He's the AD, not the coach. But yeah, I expect them to play everybody. I mean, of course, they're going to go through it. And why not? It's an exhibition. It's practice. It's practice for them. It's not going to be fun practice for them, probably because of the defense that they're going to face. It's probably should be. If it's not, there's a problem. But it should be the hardest defense they have faced and will face all season. If not, even though it's Indiana's first game, then they're behind.
Yeah, I agree with that. I obviously I don't know who Marion's second exhibition game is, but I mean, yeah, Indiana's defense is going to give them a lot of trouble. It's just not a good matchup for both teams, really. But it's also cool in the way for these Marion kids. I looked at the roster. A lot of guys that I watched during the high school season and stuff. There's about 10 out of the 13 kids I think are on that roster that are from the state of Indiana. So it's really cool for them to experience going into Assembly Hall, playing IU. I mean, I expect there to be a pretty decent crowd there, especially with no football going on this week. Getting a first look at this Indiana team at Assembly Hall. So, I mean, it's just big. It's an awesome experience for Marion. Same goes for St. Francis. You've got Brayton Bailey, son of Damon Bailey, who plays on St. Francis. I think that's honestly one of the coolest stories that's kind of under the radar this season for him to come in and get a chance to play at Assembly Hall where his dad had great success at. So, at the end of the day, it's all about, practice, but it's also about the experience of the opposing teams.
Practice? We gonna talk about practice? Practice. We're sitting up here talking about practice. Can't ever miss that, man. The truth says, and we just can get one pure shooter like Steve Alfred. Somebody is going to be in trouble this year, says the truth. If they had a pure shooter on this team, they would be a top 5 team. Well, I'm not saying they don't have a pure shooter. If they had a known consistent shooter,
yeah,
they would be a top 5. If Miller Kopp is hitting at a clip of 40%, that's going to make a difference for Indiana. That's going to elevate them. That's going to make them extraordinarily dangerous, because that is the difference between them being a top 15 team and a top 5 team. If they have a guy that you can count on, then you have to be aware of him. You have to respect that shot. That means you can't be sagging in, trying to play. Then you got race and trace. What are you going to do with that? And then you've got Jalen Hood-Schifino and Xavier Johnson, both who can create their own shot or make their own shot. So, yeah, a shooter, a consistent shooter that you can count on makes this team a top 5 team.
Yeah.
They're not until I see that, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously, a lot of fans and us media, like, we kind of circle in on Miller Kopp, but you can also look at other guys that step up. What about Tamar Bates, coming off the bench? What about, maybe we see CJ Gunn, we see Caleb Banks come in off the bench and, they can light it up and whatever. But, it's just going to be a lot of different pieces and everything. Miller would be the one guy you would think that has to make the improvements. I mean, he is the shooter of the team, but it's also, it's going to be a team effort. Race Thompson continuing his trending up, stretching the floor, and then Xavier Johnson was really good about shooting the outside ball towards the end of the season. So if he can continue that momentum, that would be great. But that's one of my big storylines heading into this season, or heading into this game on Saturday is, where's the shooting production going to come from? You expect Miller Kopp, but we'll just see, how the different lineups kind of circulate throughout the game. We'll just see who can provide that outside shooting at a consistent rate on Saturday.
Don Fisher on Monday with us on the show said that Trey Galloway has been shooting the ball a lot better, which that in and of itself would also be a huge boost for Indiana, because he is not someone I can consider an offensive contributor, a consistent offensive contributor.
Right.
He's more of a facilitator, if that makes sense. But having him contribute offensively, again, just makes this team more scary. Because then if you've got a Tamar Bates, if he has made a jump, and Geronimo, if he has made a jump, well, you've got a deep, talented team. And that's before we know if any of the freshmen besides Jalen Hood-Schifino, Malik Renault, heard that we'll be seeing him. Caleb Banks, CJ Gunn, I don't know. It's hard to tell. We will see them on Saturday. I'm quite confident of that. If CJ Gunn does what he does, steps out and starts knocking down shots, you can't keep a guy off the floor that knocks down shots. It's that simple. And they will get their opportunities. But, man, in high school, I watched him do that a lot. And I watched him do it at crunch time. I watched him do it in the fourth quarter. I watched him do it with guys hanging on him. Different league. It's moved up, but you never know. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, sticking with CJ, he's got a ton of confidence in his game and his shooting. And you could see that. I expect this weekend, depending on what guys are available, with these exhibition games, there's a few guys that they always hold out on. There could be a slight injury. I don't know if Anthony Leo's going to play. The last time we saw him was at Hoosiers Stadium, and he was in a walking boot. So that's a guy to kind of keep an eye on. But I expect every player that's available, especially the scholarship athletes, I expect them to play this Saturday. And I just expect Woodson to just kind of, get creative with his lineups and just see what works and what doesn't work. You could see a lineup where you see Jordan Geronimo, Race, and Trace all in at the same time, a big lineup, or you could see a small ball lineup where you got, Trace is only big there. You just don't know. And then this is like the perfect time to figure it out with Woodson to kind of see, okay, what guys play well together, what guys don't play well together, and just kind of, narrow down what I think is going to be a 10-man rotation for this season. So it'll be interesting to see. You'll see the development of the freshmen this Saturday. You'll see a lot of things that, Indiana fans have been kind of waiting on, patiently over the summer.
Yeah, Collin Hartman said the same thing. He expected to get down to about 10. And that makes sense. That just that's still a lot of guys. But if those 10 guys are all improved, this is going to be a fun season to watch. What can the people look forward to from you next at thehoosier.com?
Right. So, yeah, we still got a lot of recruiting updates coming in the next few days. And then we are finishing up our player previews. We've got Malik tomorrow, so we're going to schedule that out. And then I'm also writing a story right now with 3 storylines to watch for on Saturday's game. So that should be done in the next hour or so. So I would expect that to be up on the website either later this evening or maybe tomorrow morning. We'll see.
Perfect. Looking forward to that. And then, of course, Alec Lasley will be on with us tomorrow to get us updated even further. And then, of course, Saturday, there will be continued coverage with the game, live threads, all of that at thehoosier.com.
Yep. We'll have all of that. I think we'll have pretty much a full team there. So it's exciting. The basketball season's right around the corner and it's about to get busy.
Absolutely. Kyler Staley, make sure you give him a follow at Kyler Staley and at thehoosier.com. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You betcha. We've got a little more to come up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Cabello, a part of the WOW Club and Endeavor Hospitality. Go to your Apple app or Google Play Store today. Join the WOW Club. Start earning WOW rewards to all of those great places in and around the Bloomington area, also BB's Marketplace, and many more coming when you're in town or visiting, or if you live here. We'll be back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the 18th, high atop the 18th fairway from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right, good stuff. I'm looking forward to editing those articles.
I think Keegan's going to help you some with that too, because he needs it just for credit for school.
Okay.
As a editing. Just wanted you to know that's why.
No problem.
Boom, baby. Oh, you kidding me? Dang it. Yeah, that was good stuff. Good show.
Yeah, I wasn't going to break down and get the Big Ten Network Plus, but after you guys' conversation, I think I'm going to have to now because I'm curious myself about rotations and things like that. They got me again.
Oh, yeah, they get it every time I'm out there. I end up with Big Ten Plus, ESPN Plus,
Peacock this year too. I'll have to get YouTube TV and Peacock.
The old Derby Classic. The truth. You're telling the truth there. That was a fun one, but that was before they had so many different All-Star games. Man, that was a good one. Yeah, Logan. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's time for Logan Duncombe to step up. You've had 2 years of college, 2 years of college weightlifting, 2 years of playing against better players, and you were ranked. Yeah, it's time to put up or shut up. Truth, I think you need to start a basketball all-star game. Just call it the truth, baby. Hooping the truth.
You're live in 30 seconds. You're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Thursday as we are about to close the week out, man. Friday is almost upon us tomorrow. Looking forward to it as usual. We'll be coming to you from BB's Market. Looking forward to that. I haven't seen Chef JD in a few weeks. We weren't there last week, and he wasn't there the week before that. So and I've had a few people tell me, Ryan and Sherry were down visiting from Northern Indiana playing golf at Eagle Point. They stopped by the foul course. They also stopped by BB's a couple times, they said, had breakfast, and it was incredible, per their words. But I'll let Ryan tell you that whenever he comments on it at some point. But yeah, stop by if you're able to, and we'll be there doing the show. And you never know who's going to show up, but you never know what you're going to get to eat. That stuff is so good. I have gained about 8 pounds since starting doing the shows there. And I'm like, all right, I got to watch that, especially with wintertime coming on, baby. We finished up talking with a little about IU basketball and a lot of comments about Logan Duncombe. And I agree. It's time for him to put up or shut up, although he does have a lot of talent in front of him with Trace Jackson Davis and Race. But then you've got Malik Raynaud. So it's going to be interesting to see. As Chris says that Trace Jackson said Logan was sick every other week last year and just couldn't get anywhere. Over the summer, he gained weight, muscle, and was very hard to move. Shots are good. Well, we'll see that. It's nice for their teammates to back their teammates up. I like that. But we'll see it when we see him. But it is time for him to put up or shut up, in my opinion. But maybe that's one of the reasons they're not as concerned with next year. If he is truly making those strides, he'll be here. He's not going anywhere other than, the transfer portal, which I don't think that there's any pressing concerns of that. There's going to be plenty of open space for him after next season, and there's opportunities for him this year. If he is deserving of the minutes, I assure you, Mike Woodson will have his butt on the floor. It will be interesting to see, though. Is this his third season here? Yeah. So you've got a freshman in Malik Raynaud. How are you competing there? So yeah, I'm interested in see what his development has been. And if there is development there, great. If there's not, then the question is, why? Is that on the coaching staff or is that on Logan Duncombe? But there's plenty of time to figure that out. Jordan Geronimo, another player who needs to improve his offensive game to give Indiana the utmost help he can. Obviously, defensively, he is a threat, great rebounder, but offensively, he's a great athlete, but he doesn't have the ability to create his own shot other than a dunk right now, or he hasn't up until this point. So it'll be interesting to see what that goes. The truth says he will be at Indiana next year. Jordan Washington, he's not going to get any playing time at North Carolina. Well, Jaden Washington, rather. We'll see about that. North Carolina sure picked up a great transfer in Pete Nance. Not Nance. Yeah, it is Pete Nance, isn't it? From Northwestern, which will be ironic. You're going to have two former Northwestern players playing against each other this year on blue blood teams. And Miller Kopp and his former teammate. So that does show you, though, this transfer portal, it gives players opportunities they didn't get in the beginning. When you see these guys that are able to transfer up, you're like, oh, this guy transferred from Western Kentucky. Well, this guy transferred from, Northwestern. Now he's playing at North Carolina. And I think I mentioned this, that I read, it was a great point that at Northwestern, he was the best player on the team. At North Carolina, he's maybe the fifth best player on the team. But how good does that make North Carolina? So it gives, the transfer portal certainly gives players an opportunity that maybe they didn't get. Caleb says Duke has a Northwestern transfer as well. Ryan Young. How funny is that? So Northwestern loses 3 players to 3 blue blood programs. First of all, they were able to recruit those guys and get them. That shows either undervalue, they were undervalued when they were recruited, or player development. I don't know which, but it's very interesting. But there's also, we've seen a lot of transfers don't always work out for guys. So, but it's something Indiana is going to have to do, I believe, after this season. They're going to need to fill at least those 2 spots, and they need to hit home runs this time. They have not, the transfer portal has not, Indiana has not succeeded in the transfer portal. Let me say that. Miller Kopp can change that this year with his performance, but the other guys that have come through so far, they really haven't. And Indiana needs, and it's a little surprising because Indiana is now a destination again. So I think that will change. There's going to be, when Trace and Racely, there's going to be opportunities for people to step in. They're like, wow, there's going to be some people that want that spot, especially if Indiana has the season that they should have this year. Kevin pointing out Logan's second season. That's right. Last year was his freshman season that he started out down in the Bahamas. He didn't get to play. Oh yeah, that's right. Thank you, Kevin. Xavier from the portal. Now that has worked out for Indiana. No question. They would be in trouble without him, and they would have been in serious trouble without him last year. But this year is having him back, hopefully under even more controlled play with a guy beside him that I think he can excel. I really, really, really believe that Jalen Hood-Schifino, the freshman, is going to be the calming influence on this offense. I just have that belief in his abilities, in his basketball IQ, in his ability to see the floor. When I went down and watched him play at the Montverde Academy tournament last year, Invitational, that's the thing I noticed. I was watching him, but he's watching the floor. He sees the whole floor. When he's coming up the floor, he sees that he's watching everything. He's a basketball player, man. And he has a high IQ, and it's going to make a huge difference. I truly believe it's going to be a bigger difference than people realize. Yeah, Robert pointing out, can't wait to see Duke without Coach K on the bench. Yeah, we'll see. It'll be interesting. Anytime something like that happens, it's gigantic. Whether it's Bob Knight, Roy Williams, Dean Smith, it's just, you kind of miss those you hate them when there's sometimes there's people that you don't like when they're around, but then you really miss them when they're not there. And the truth said Jalen's going to make a difference on the offside. He thinks that he'll be real good. He want a officer would get some shooters. Yeah, is what he said. I'm trying to read that, but I do. Jalen Hood-Schifino is going to be the calming influence on this offense. I really believe that, and I believe it's going to smooth some things out. I think the shooting is going to be better innately. Not that they haven't improved, but I think the shooting will be better because the offense is going to be better. I think the offense will be smoother. I think it's going to be more dangerous. And I think it's going to have a lot more opportunities. It's going to be a lot more challenging for the teams that they play. I mean, it was challenging enough last year. They were missing parts. We'll give a shout out to the Evansville Memorial Lady Tigers in their quest for a state championship heading to Indianapolis, the IHSA State Soccer Tournament today on the IUPUI campus. Everybody listening on the ref down in Evansville, 97.7 ESPN. Hope you got some kids or friends or family playing. Good luck to them all. Robert says he doesn't expect Duke's first season to be terrible, but after that, it all depends, baby. If you winning, just win, baby. That's all you got to do. And Duke, you forget, Duke is still a great school. And Duke is not going to stop being Duke. North Carolina hasn't stopped being North Carolina. Other schools haven't stopped being there. The only reason Indiana stopped being Indiana was because of the Indiana administration. So that's the only reason. Horrible hires on both basketball and football. I'm not going to go into it and end the show on a negative note, but that's much what that was. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to tomorrow, getting back out to BB's. And on the program, looking forward to it. Always Alec Lasley joining us from the Hoosier.com. We'll get you caught up again, even more so on recruiting and what's happening this Saturday, who's visiting for IU basketball. Also on the show tomorrow, our good friend Mitchell Page. Always happy to have him. Let's see. I'm trying to think. We've got somebody else on tomorrow, and I cannot remember who. Oh, how about Jeff Goodman? Yeah, reporter Jeff Goodman joins us tomorrow as well. So look forward to that. So another great show coming up tomorrow. I cannot thank everybody enough today. Collin Hartman, thank you, brother. You were always great. Make sure you go to HoosiersConnect.com and check that out. Kyler Staley from the Hoosier.com. We appreciate you. Matt Taylor, voice of the Colts. RC, filling in. Appreciate you as well. Most importantly, thanks to you guys. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. And we're so thankful. We appreciate you. Looking forward to doing it again tomorrow. If you're down in Southern Indiana, near Sellersburg, make sure you stop by and see our good friend Dr. J at Reynolds Family Dentistry. Keep that championship smile. He keeps me smiling. That's going to wrap it up for us here today from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. We're back to do it all again tomorrow. Thank you so much. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Great show, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You may have to trim